It is Throwback Thursday, March 2019. Steve Sipress here, and I have a little switch up with what I was going to share today. I found out yesterday, a good friend of mine, Matt and Stephanie Basak, their youngest daughter, got accepted yesterday into Boston College Law School. Congratulations, and the Throwback Thursday part of that is that's where I spent 3 years of my youth. You can see the old Boston College, how do I point to it? There it is, the old Boston College Law School diploma on the wall behind me. Now mine hangs sideways and is in a ridiculous non-Boston College colored pink and yellow frame, because to me, the diploma isn't worth the paper it's printed on, and so having little respect for it, that's how I chose to hang it up. And yes, it does hang that way. The hanging wire goes across like that, so it hangs vertically and not horizontally. But anyway, it's great for those that actually want to go to law school and make a career out of being an attorney or whatever you do with that degree. So congratulations go out to Matt and Stephanie on their daughter's impending journey to Boston College Law School and success. So I was going to share all kinds of my memories from back in my law school days, of which my 40th law school reunion is coming up soon, or the 35th law school reunion is coming. Yeah, my 40th high school reunion was last year. My 35th law school reunion is coming up next year. And I was going to share all kinds of memories, but then look what happened. One of my roommates from back in my law school days, I found out yesterday from another one of my roommates, there were 5 of us living in a home, that he passed away suddenly. He went in for it's my good friend, Captain Ted Brennan, who is, I think still to this day, the only person ever to go from Harvard Law School into the Marine Corps. Finished first in his class in the Marines, of course. This guy was the #1 combination of brains and brawn I've ever seen known to mankind. Huge bruiser of a guy. #1 in the Marines on all the written tests. #1 on all the physical tests. Just amazing. Went through undergrad in his hometown of Buffalo. Went through college with a 4.0 in 2 years. Went into Harvard Law School and breezed through that thing where all of us, never studied and didn't go to class and whatever. And brilliant guy, great guy. Went in, he went into the Marine Corps out of Harvard and went into the JAG program, Judge Advocate General, a Marine attorney. Then he left, went into the private sector, went out to the West Coast, didn't like that, went back home to Buffalo, and he spent over 25 years as a DA working in public service, which also very few people ever from Harvard Law School go into public service, the Marines, and working for his hometown government as a district attorney, specializing in DUI cases, which of course is ironic because all we did was drink back in school and act like idiots and enact scenes from Animal House, because we watched that movie over 100 times and we did all the crazy things, including Teddy actually attempting to break a beer bottle over his head like Bluto does in the movie. And we all learned that, like, beer bottles don't break over people's heads nearly as easily in real life as they do in the movies. And he must have done at least 6 or 8 whacks in the head. Blood is streaming down all over the place till finally we're able to grab his arms, which is difficult to do, big hulking Teddy Brennan, and get him to stop smashing himself in the head with that bottle, because Teddy would never, he set a goal, he's going to do whatever it takes, and you better not be in his way. Teddy retired from being a DA a few months ago, went in for a hip replacement surgery, I found out, in December, and had a heart attack on the operating table and passed away at the age of 62. Shocking. And so Throwback Thursday ends up not being all kinds of fun, ridiculous stories about my Boston College Law School days, but that tale there, Teddy Brennan, I could tell stories about Teddy all day long, as you can imagine. What a character. But as somebody wrote beneath the link, one of my roommates, Ruben Perlmutter, posted an RIP message to Teddy, and then I did mine in a comment. So I noticed when I look on my page, I don't even see mine because it's lost in the comments, but I wrote a whole long thing about Teddy. But as Ruben wrote, I forgot what I was going to say, but Ruben was like, oh, yeah, somebody put a comment on there and said, wow, they knew Teddy, and they said, I always knew that behind that hard partying guy, you scratch the surface and you didn't have to go very deep below the surface. There was one hell of a lovable, fantastic guy, and that was Teddy. Giving, and he was no BS. He would tell you straight out, cut the crap, which was me all the time doing all kinds of stupid things, and he would just say, hey. He would just shake his head. And when Teddy looked at you and shook his head, you knew you were being an idiot beyond the normal idiocy we normally were. And that's all it took for Teddy's influence to shine through to somebody else. So thoughts and prayers with Teddy and his whole family, and everyone that knew him is better off for it. And memories of Teddy will live on forever. Then, fast forward to today, not nearly on a personal level as much, but I checked into my daily news update that comes to me in my email about what's going on with my beloved New York Mets, and I almost didn't click on it because I'm like, every day for the past 2 weeks it's been the same thing. Spring training update, this guy hurt his knee, that guy, I'm like, yeah, whatever, there's nothing new. But let me just check to see if there's nothing new, and lo and behold, there's something new. The greatest New York Mets player in history, and likely will ever be in history, Tom Seaver, was diagnosed with dementia. His family announced today. And he will not be attending the 50th anniversary celebration of the 1969 Miracle New York Mets, of which he, winning 25 games, was the biggest part of it, leading the amazing pitching staff and the amazing Mets. And I, as a kid, lived near Shea Stadium, and we would get over there anytime we could when Tom Seaver was pitching. What a treat. The guy was amazing, but also what a great guy. And obviously didn't know him personally, but I did have a brush with greatness because during my years as a vendor in Madison Square Garden, one Saturday morning in a circus, I'm walking around selling ice creams right after intermission, and lo and behold, way down in the box seats, guy says, ice cream. I go down. He says, give me an ice cream. Here you go. Hands me 75 cents. The ice cream was 60 cents. It says, keep the change. I was like, first of all, nobody ever says keep the change back in those days. Beer, sure. Beer was 90 cents. They over gave you $1. But I was too young at that point to sell beer. I was 17, had to be 18. And he handed me the beer, and the 75 cents, keep the change. I'm like, wow, a tip. You never get a tip. And then I looked at him, and I was like, not only was the guy immaculately dressed, but his hand was perfect. Handing me the coins, his fingers were perfect. And right next to him was like a model-looking blonde bombshell, incredibly dressed to the nines, and 2 little beautiful girls all dressed up. And this was out of place on a Saturday morning at the circus where it was just craziness, and nobody was dressed up for it. And I was like, man, guy looks like Tom Seaver. But I'm like, it can't be, because the Mets had traded Tom Seaver. It was a whole snafu and mess up and going back and forth with a contract, and things broke down, and the Mets, what's called the Midnight Massacre, the Mets traded him away for a bunch of nobodies just to avoid paying him the money he deserved. And the heart of the whole, all the Mets fans went out, and the whole franchise actually went from being contenders to being miserable for the next few decades. And that was the moment where the whole franchise disappeared. Mr. Met, Tom Seaver, they traded him away to Cincinnati Reds. So anyway, so I go back into the vendor booth, the vendor stand, whatever we called it, we're loading up on more food. And I said to another vendor was in there, and I'm like, I could have sworn this guy looked amazingly just like Tom Seaver, but I know it can't be him because they traded him to Cincinnati. He said, you're an idiot. The Mets are in town this weekend. The Reds are in town this weekend. They're playing the Mets. In fact, there's a game tonight. And that's when it dawned on me, you idiot. I didn't even think of that. I'm like, yeah, see, it can't be him. He's in Cincinnati. Yeah, but see, this is baseball. Like, teams don't, sit at home all the time. They go on the road, and even Cincinnati comes to New York once in a while, and lo and behold, there they were. So just as today, I'm not sitting there reading the paper every day and keeping up on what other people call the news and whatever, and I'm busy doing my thing. I'm working. I'm not reading the paper. But this guy was like, yeah, Mets are in town. I was like, holy crap, I got to run right back there and gush all over and do what you're not supposed to do. And in New York, you meet celebrities all the time, and we know, don't disturb them at dinner and what, let them be. But I'm like, but I got an excuse to go thank him again and just say, you're Tom Seaver. I mean, right on my desk at all times, right in front of me. One of my best friend from growing up, who became the best man at my wedding, Scott Regamo, sent this to me years ago. It's a little statue of number 41, Tom Seaver, and a baseball card of number 41, Tom Seaver. And this sits right across on my desk at all times, especially today. And, of course, it was Tom Seaver. So I go running back there, and guess what? Seats are empty. He left. Of course he left. Can you imagine? You ever go to a sporting event and you leave when the game ends, when in this case in the Garden, when the circus would end and 18,000 people would be filing out and you can barely move, and he'd be stuck in this crowd and just one person would recognize him, unlike me being a dimwit, and would go like, holy crap, it's Tom Seaver. And he'd be mobbed and he'd never get out of there. And then his kids and his daughter get run over, his wife and his kids get run over. So, of course, he had to leave early. So I went back and he was gone. Brushed with greatness for a moment. Got a chance, which I will never get again. Because the family announced today that Tom, who he contracted, I remember reading he contracted Lyme disease about 25 years ago. And now that I was reading up today on this news link that I posted onto my Facebook here below this video, you'll see it, they believe that he got Bell's palsy from the Lyme disease, and they believe that's what led to his memory loss, and now officially today announced that he was diagnosed with dementia. No more public appearances. He bought a vineyard a few years ago, Seaver's Vineyards, back home in California, where him and his wife are from, and he's going to live out his time there, only 74 years old. What the heck is going on? What the heck is going on? Life is short, folks. Life is short. Make the most of it. And I don't just mean understand when you meet one of your childhood idols to understand, hey, that's one of your childhood idols. I mean enjoy every second. Cherish it with the ones you love, the ones you care about. And for you business owners out there, most people watch my videos, you ought to be business owners. You come here for business advice. Wasn't much of it today. All I can say is the clock is ticking and there are no dress rehearsals. Every day you're in business for real. Today it's happening. Make the most of it. Never forget that 90% of businesses go out of business in the first 5 years. Most of them go out of business after that. Most business owners think, I don't have to invest. I don't have to save for retirement because I have my business. And when I'm ready to hang it up, I'm going to sell my business. And I'll take that money, and that's what I'm going to live on in retirement. And yet they don't set up the business right. They don't put systems into place so that nobody's going to buy your business because it's really just you. And you don't have the systems and you don't have everything down to a science. And if you went on a month vacation, your business would crumble. You couldn't come back and your business would still be running. That's why my company is called Successful Selling Systems. I'm all about those systems. I help people do that. Well, if you've been putting it off, if you've been thinking like, I don't need to do that yet, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. A sudden this, a sudden that, a sudden this. And then where's your family going to be and where's your employees going to be and what's your legacy going to be? The clock is ticking, folks, and life is short. Make the most of it. A whole bunch of people's here. I'm sorry, I didn't even say hello. And they've already scrolled up. And Mark and Alex and George and Walter is here. Good seeing you, Walter. Rick is here. Dr. Will, one of my favorites. Rich is here. One of my favorite Mets fans. Rich, have you heard the news? Is this the first time you're hearing the news? Like, oh boy. And Jim is here and a bunch of other people had scrolled up. I don't see any other questions, comments, concerns, issues. My heart goes out to Tom Seaver and his family, to Marine Teddy Brennan and his family, everybody else that's suffering, that's going to be suffering, anyone that's getting bad news, it's going through tough times. For business owners, that's everybody. Life for business owners, full of ups and downs. There's always challenges, there's always tough times. That's why we've got the responsibility. We're running the business. We ask for it. When we start a business, we ask for troubles. We ask for challenges. Bring them to us. That's why only 10% of Americans own a business. The other 90%, they might try it, but they don't got the nerve. They don't got the courage. They can't handle it. They're not going to run a business. Those of you that are, understand what you got in your hands. You got an opportunity. Make the most of it. Life is short. And Ruben is here. And Ruben just talked about Teddy. And so, and Ruben's the one to let me know, as I said earlier, of that terrible news. So double dose. And Ruben also, lifelong Mets fan. Double dose to you as well as me of shocking news. Two of my all-time favorites. One person lived with for 2 years and knew real well up close and personal in real life. Another one I idolized basically from afar. Hope you're having better time in the last 24 hours. It's the way life is. Things come and things go, and we keep pushing on through it. So thoughts and prayers going out to both families, the Brenners and the Seavers, and everybody else that loved and cherished and got enjoyment out of knowing or watching or just rooting for either one of them, like I got a chance to do. I'll never forget either one of them. And that'll do it for Throwback Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow on Foundation Friday. I have 2 boxes that have arrived, one about 6 months ago and one last week. My beautiful wife Michelle was like, what's in the box? Like, I'm going to open them up live tomorrow on Foundation Friday and share a business building tip that I hope you will take to heart and act on. And that'll do it for Throwback Thursday. Thanks everyone being here today. Over and out. I'll be back tomorrow.